The specialist, Kypros Nicolaides, helped by Jane Allen, is using ultrasound techniques in such a sophisticated way he can examine in detail an 8-week-old fetus that's less than an inch long.
Can you see on the screen?
Yeah.
You can actually see the baby moving. Can you see the head there? Can you see the arm waving at you? Can you see that? The active baby.
The technique uses ultrasound, like eyes, to guide procedures like this one, where a sample of cells will be taken from the placenta. Needles like this are used in all the operations. Here, the surgeon has inserted the tip into the placenta. He can see that it's clear of the baby and can safely collect a sample of cells to look for any genetic problems. Tricia Sharman has simply had a local anaesthetic.
Trust me, that's really quite fascinating. You're right, it didn't hurt.
And the baby's still bouncing. Now the techniques are being developed here at King's College Hospital, London, for operations on the babies themselves. Liz McGarvey from Liverpool has developed high levels of rhesus antibody, which means that her blood is gradually destroying her own baby's blood cells, starving the fetus of oxygen. Almost all babies, as severely affected as this, will die before birth. Liz McGarvey has already had 2 babies stillborn. But the solution is theoretically very simple. Give the baby blood transfusions.
Okay.
Once again, the needle is placed into the womb. This time the surgeon is trying to hit the umbilical cord which carries blood to the baby, seen here using fibre optics. But the ultrasound shows the whole picture more precisely, with the baby, placenta and cord where the blood is to be injected. You can see the needle quite clearly. There it is, just through there. And the baby's moving on that side of the screen. And this is the umbilical cord. And the fluttering on the screen is actually the new blood going in. But even all this blood won't last the baby for long.
As the baby grows and the blood volume of the baby increases, whatever blood was good enough for 3 weeks ago is not good enough anymore. So we basically have to give transfusions every 3 weeks or so.
Afterwards, a check to see the heart still beating.
I'm sure the baby is feeling much better for the blood transfusion now.
But of all the fetal surgery done here, the technique we're going to see next is perhaps the most exciting. A tiny plastic tube is implanted in the baby inside the womb, and that tube is used to draw off fluid. Fluid which is collected around the baby's brain, bladder or lungs, where it squashes and eventually damages the organs. But because the fluid can now be drawn off by delicate surgery, these babies can survive. Valerie Catchpole has one such baby. When she went for a routine checkup at her local hospital, they found that her baby was accumulating water on the lungs.
You just feel a little bit of pressure now. If you can just relax.
Inside the chest, all that black area is water. Any lung tissue would be whiter, but there isn't much there because the lungs have been squashed up against the baby's back. As usual, the first stage of the operation involves placing the needle into the womb. This tube is to be passed through the needle and will provide a channel for the fluid to drain from the chest into the space around the baby. It'll remain in place until the baby's born. The needle is pushed into the baby. And the tube is passed through.
Put your hand the other way around. We use the first pusher to deposit the one end of the catheter inside the baby's chest. Then we throw this into the amniotic cavity, and we deposit the outer end of the catheter into the cavity so that the fluid now drains from the baby into the amniotic cavity. And that's the end. You see the baby's heart there, beating away normally.
What has to be done when the baby's born?
After the baby is born, then we can remove the tube. The patients that had this treatment, the fluid doesn't seem to reaccumulate.
Okay. So this has been done before?
Yes, we have done it many times, yes.
And only 10 minutes later, after a cup of tea, Valerie Catchpole and the patient, her unborn baby, are ready to take the train home. And the terrific news today is that Valerie gave birth on Tuesday and her baby, Emma, is breathing well. Next week, we'll take the story further, showing how a similar revolutionary technique can be used to help fetuses suffering from a lack of oxygen. But now, back to Maggie.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic news. And now down to more mundane matters. If your steering wheel starts to shake at certain speeds, then it really is well worthwhile getting out the wheel balance sorted out. Because take a look at these tyres. Now, they've done 20,000 miles. You'd expect another 5,000 out of them. We see that. One of the reasons they won't be going any further is that they've come off a car with badly balanced wheels. Now, there are a number of ways of checking for this, but it involves either removing the wheels completely or jacking them up one at a time. So I'd like you to take a look at this setup here. It's quick because it can cope with 2 wheels at a time, and it's very accurate because the wheels are measured with the suspension practically in the position it would be on the road. Now, as you can see, the front axles aren't resting on a jack. Each one is supported by a pickup arm, and inside here there's a sensor measuring the pressure on that arm. Because if this wheel is off balance, then the pressure is going to change as the wheel spins round. There's also a second sensor here, which is using an infrared beam to keep an eye on this chalk mark when the wheel actually turns. More traditional systems do use similar methods, but you certainly can't do the measuring inside a car. Now, what we'll do is just get this started up and up to 50 miles an hour. And obviously I could check for either of the wheels here. What we're going to do is to concentrate on the right one at first, and any heavy spot will be picked up by the pressure sensor and converted into a weight measurement. And can you see that there? It looks as if the right tyre is 30 grams out of balance. But we still don't know exactly where that heavy spot is, and that's where the second sensor comes in. You remember, that's using an infrared beam to watch the chalk line, and that gives the microprocessor a vital reference point on the wheel. Well, this dial represents the wheel, and these red dots tell me that if I line up the wheel so that the chalk mark is here, then when the 30-gram counterweight is clipped on at the top, the wheel will be perfectly balanced. Howard, are you sure you're ready for this?
I'm ready, but before Maggie whisks me off for a night out on the town in a new car, a quick shave, I think. But not my designer stubble, my designer pullover. I'll just have a go at these bobbles on the side there. Pretty dreadful. Now, apparently some people already use their electric shavers for this, but this one's been designed for the job. There we are, instant smoothie. So until the same time next week, good night.
Oh, thanks for dropping in at our rehearsals. For the next 13 Saturday nights, Bob says opportunity knocks. Yeah, well, I say it, but you have the last word when you cast the telephone vote. You're the star maker. You decide who wins through to our all-winners final. How can you help? Well, first you have a look at the acts, and then you have from the end of the show until midnight to vote for your favorite performers. The details are listed on page 31 of the Radio Times. So don't forget, Saturday, BBC One, 7:45, Bob says opportunity knocks. Don't miss it. You'll be delighted by what you discover.
Now on BBC One and Sporting Knitwear, as varied as the questions, we join Emlyn Hughes and Bill Beaumont for A Question of Sport.